Good day, everyone.
Welcome to today's Pre-FHIR Connectathon webinar hosted by UP Manila SILab.
I'm 𝗚𝗃𝗁𝗁,
I'm 𝗗𝗵𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁,
your
your
moderator
moderator
for
for
today's
today's
session.
session.
Our real goal is to create more interoperable health system. And to achieve this interoperability, we must share a common language. So what is a draft core implementation guide? It's something that is common across different use cases in the Philippines. The Core IG is use case agnostic. The NHDR IG is use case specific. They wanted the NHDR IG to address surveillance, to address the use case of referral, and to address the use case of claims, which should start at some point. And for this, my reference will be the 𝗚𝘂𝗃 of the World Health Organization. Are these enough? We don't know. And the reason we're having a Connectathon this June is we want to find out, are these 5 resources enough? In the Connectathon, we will gather feedback from the participants. Then we update the policy draft, and then we do another Connectathon, and we repeat the process all over again until we are sure that the standard is very clear, the standard is accepted by the community, such that when there is now consensus that the draft policy is ready, the Connectathon has already shown us that the tests have been passed, then we can release the policy and we can expect success. Because everyone who should comply with the policy is already well informed and well versed with how to use the standard and embed it in their electronic medical record.
You know that an implementation guide is the written specification of how you exchange a particular set of data using FHIR. It's not only a technical resource, a good implementation guide also describes the best practices for FHIR-based data exchange. There are different versions of FHIR. We're using what's called R4. That lets us build use case specific implementation guides that inherit these kind of basic Philippines ingredients from PhCore. One of the functions is to link many other standards, what data should be captured and how it should be captured. Then we have a whole group of Philippine standards. You can think of this as a minimum data set for RESTful API interactions to record and update and search and retrieve a variety of different kinds of digital health and administrative information. So here are the resource profiles. We're actually going to go into the IG and take a look at one of these resource profiles, the PhCore patient profile. Every resource or every artifact in FHIR, kind of in an IG, kind of follows this same format. We have identifiers and code systems. These are 2 different kinds of resources that we've included. Between now and the Connectathon, we are going to be adding a little bit more to it. We'll be adding the immunization resource. We'll be tightening up the profiles, adding a little bit more documentation, and then we will be loading the IG contents into the endpoint servers so that you can make RESTful API calls using Postman or other tools to practice and test out all these things at the Connectathon.
I think the key message is a standard by itself is not enough. There needs to be a community of adopters of the standard. Because if the community does not even know how to use the standard, then the standard just becomes an online resource that no one can actually implement or adopt.
So what real-world healthcare workflow would you like to test at the Connectathon? Okay, we have referral, appointment scheduling, FHSIS, TB, e-consulta, child immunization.
We won't be able to solve all of those things in 2 weeks, but we will have some basic building blocks that are needed by, I think, all of those different scenarios.
Kasi although this is just draft, it's not really the official thing yet, but it really helps us understand what is workable for a specific use case. And then we feed it back to DOH and PhilHealth so that they know what's the situation also on the ground. Because a standard is like a bridge. You know, at one end of the standard is government, and on the other end of the standard are the implementers, the people in the healthcare provider network. And both sides need to have a common understanding of what needs to be done, what needs to be submitted in terms of data.
One of the things you will, of course, get is hands-on introduction to FHIR. Implementation guides that we'll be looking at are drafts, they're works in progress. There will be things that are incomplete. In terms of scope, for this Connectathon, we have 2 tracks, but they're sequential. So the second track builds on the first track. So what you work through in the first track can then be picked up on and developed further in the second track. There'll be a number of tools and servers provided for you. Key amongst those, the 𝗵𝘂𝗁𝗂 server. There's a separate terminology server. There may be people attending who bring along their own servers, and if so, we will endeavour to make those endpoints known to you so you can test against different servers. There'll be there's the FHIR validator that you'll be able to use to validate the resources that you create or produce. Diving into track 1. So this is about looking at the creation of resources, writing to the FHIR server. And so the general context here is some point of service application submitting data to a health data repository. We're looking at track 2, which of course builds on track 1. And this is the sort of retrieval scenario. Context in which you're likely to do retrieval is obviously if you're looking for an existing patient who's returned, you want to pull back that patient's records. You may be doing analytics, so you may be looking at a cohort of patients and a set of resources that meet some criteria. Also, if you're doing something like pre-population of a questionnaire, collecting feedback, understanding, documenting what you tried, what worked, what didn't work for you, what gaps did you discover, were there any blockers? So that's a quick walkthrough of the tracks, what to expect, the kinds of tools. So
again, the track 1 is for POS data submission, and track 2 is for search and retrieval. Maybe the question can be rephrased in a way that in a FHIR ecosystem, should there be only one primary and permanent patient identifier, or can it have multiple patient identifiers?
A common theme in FHIR is inclusivity, and so restricting to only one is generally not what's done. Generally, you allow multiple where multiple exist, but you might have a preference for one.
It's a great question. We have in the draft Core IG, we have only allowed the PhilHealth ID and the dialysis ID, the PDD registration. But that's one of those great examples of something that is done as a draft, as a work in progress. And to have the discussion about PhilSys ID or PhilHealth ID or both or neither and what circumstances is exactly the kind of thing we hope to accomplish at the Connectathon. So that's a super important governance question. That it's not a technical question. Technically, it's easy. We can have one ID or two IDs or 10 IDs. But governance-wise, it's hugely important. And I hope we'll have all the right people in the room next week to start that conversation. Thank you.
Once again, we invite you
for our main event,
June 2025 FHIR Connectathon
happening on June 16 to 17, 2025
at Hilton Manila, Pasay City.
Thank you all for actively participating. Let's continue to connect,
collaborate, and learn together.
This is 𝗚𝗃𝗁𝗂𝗂 saying again, catalyzing change, one spark at a time.
This is 𝗚𝗂𝗶𝗳𝗁𝗂𝗂. See everyone at Hilton Manila. Bye!